guys, it's Classic Car Dad or a 1982 Corvette, and today I'm going to be doing a car tour of my 1982 Collector's Edition Corvette. And I put a poll up on my Instagram and asked you guys to give me some ideas on what I should go over, and I got a lot of really good ideas and also a lot of weird ones. So I'm going to be putting all of them into here and going over what you guys wanted me to go over. We're going to go over the engine. This is the first year of the crossfire injection when they switched from carbs due to the 80s oil crisis. Can't even stop it. And come on. My engine bay is pretty clean. I would say that I've taken a lot of good care of it. Some things we've replaced is we put a bigger radiator in it, which I definitely recommend if you have a C3 Corvette. It keeps it from overheating. We also put a new condenser in. I've done all of my belts multiple times. Obviously I've done filters, valve gaskets. I had my cruise control module, which is down here. I had that rebuilt. I did plugs and wires. I've had all my hoses replaced because I did have my heater hose, which is right here. That blew in October of 2020. And another thing that I've done is my AC compressor about 4 times. I would say if you're replacing your AC compressor, just pull that his ass. If you're replacing your AC compressor, I would say make sure you're putting the right amount of Freon in, because I've had it break about 3 times due to me messing that up. Other things is that I've rebuilt these sensors right here. I've replaced a few. This sensor right here too. And that's really about it for the engine work. A lot of people say that the crossfire injection is not reliable at all, but I think that if you actually put the time and effort into it, it's a very reliable daily, and it's great to drive. It's very smooth. Okay, so someone asked me what my favorite parts of the car are, and I would have to say the body style, of course, and my paint. This is original paint. Come here. Come here. This is all original paint. It does have some swirls in it, but I would have to say that it's in good shape. I did have the front bumper repainted because I had my car towed at one point, and they really messed that up, so I got a new paint job on that. Another favorite part of the car would have to be the wheels. These are specific to the Collector's Edition, and they sort of look like the wheels on the C2 Corvettes, where they're turbine wheels, and I would say that's one of my favorite parts. I would like to get it refurbished though, because I do have a bunch of brake fluid stains and grime. Okay, another one of my favorite perks of the car, oh my god, is the rear hatch. Only the Collector's Edition C3s were able to have the hatch open up, and the latch is right down here. You pull it, and it's obviously, it's great. Hang on. So I forgot to mention this, but I did replace the pistons on the hatch when we first got the car, because it definitely helped pushing the hatch upwards, because sometimes it would get stuck with the old pistons, along with the 2 hinges that also pull the hatch up. Within a few months of owning the car, me and my dad pulled the glass off the hinges. We pulled the hinges out of the car, and we took a blowtorch, heated it up, and we hammered them back closer together, which helped keep the hatch sealed more, because over time these hinges sort of expand out like this, and it pushes the hatch up off of the seal. And we also replaced the sealing all along the hatch. It's huge. It's kind of a pain. I definitely have to do it again because it's starting to peel up again, but I would say that reshaping the hinges makes a huge difference. It takes a lot of time, probably a full day of work, but it's definitely worth it. It's a cheap fix. You really just need a blowtorch and a hammer, so. And typically biscuit will sit back here. It does have a lot of room. I have these 2 compartments here. This one holds my battery and my ECU. That one I just keep a bunch of candy in. And this strap holds the T-tops down when I want to put them in the car.
Come on. And then, your head. Yeah, that works.
Next part I'm going to go over is the rest of the interior and a lot of the cool quirks of the car. I did clean it a little bit. All I really have in here is my backpack. One thing that we've replaced is the seats on the car because when we first got it, they were pretty ragged. Actually, the driver's seat had a hole in it, but I love the two-tone seats along with these side panels. They are gorgeous. This is the driver's seat. And actually, the driver's seat does have electric seats that can go up, down, front, back. That can raise the back of it, and that can raise the front of it. Now, because this car is so old, obviously it has no airbags at all, but obviously I love my pop-up lights. That's how you pull them up. They are, in fact, up right now. And then you can turn it all the way to the left to turn the interior lights on, and then when you want them all the way off so you don't drain your battery, you turn the switch all the way to the right. Another cool feature is that I do have cruise control on this car. And then I have the windshield wipers, which go up, down. You can change the speed, but this actually does not work on my car. That reminds me that I need to replace it. And then if you push it in, that is the windshield wiper fluid. The common question I get and also show a lot is how many miles are in the car. These are original. I only have 48,000 miles on the car. I bought it with 15,000, and I have been trying to drive it as much as possible because it is my daily driver. So then over here I have all my gauges. I can see the engine temp, gas, obviously, and my reflection. Then I have the oil temp, my oil pressure, and then the battery. Another thing about old cars is that you have a square key to turn it on, and then the circle key to unlock the doors. So when I turn it on, have the seatbelt light, check engine light, and then the battery light over here. And then that right there is my low fuel light, which does turn on very often because my gas gauge reader is broken. Next, I have my glove box compartment. It is an absolute mess. It does not fit much at all. I have a lot of my old cassette tapes in there, my ticket warning from when I got pulled over for underglow in Virginia too. I would say that if you are over 6 foot, this car is not comfortable to sit in or drive because your head hits the T-tops. Camden will demonstrate. Yep. It is a great woman car. Put the e-brake down. And then, the pop-ups stayed up. This is what she looks like with them up. Sometimes they come up at different times, and I am able to wink them if I press the button at the right time. My horn works, that's the horn. I like the hood stripe that it has down here. These are all stickers on the car. They run along the body lines, the hood, and they're also along the sides here on both of them. I would say some odd quirks about the C3s are that sometimes, and I've heard this from a lot of C3 owners, the right window gets stuck up or down, and the way I replace that is I actually stuck broken toothpicks in some parts of the window gears, and it actually helped. Another common issue that C3 owners have is the headlights not coming up at all or coming up at different times, and it's because they actually have gas canisters back here or vacuum canisters, and sometimes those just don't have the right pressure and they don't work at all. So I would say if you're gonna buy a C3, I would replace all of your gaskets, seals, hoses. I would get a bigger radiator because that definitely made a huge difference for the car. I would make sure there's no vacuum leaks in the car because that also makes a huge difference in how it idles and how it runs. So I'm going to go over the exhaust setup next. I actually cut off both mufflers in June of 2021. We were going to put new ones on, but I decided to just leave them off. It sounds great. Obviously, the underside of the car is very rusted, but nothing on the body has been rusted at all. I can't show this because I can't really get under the car right now, but I have replaced a lot of the suspension parts on the car. I've done ball joints, bearings, honestly, almost everything, or rebuilt everything, and it rides a lot smoother now. Here's the underside of the car. As you can see, it is rusted, like I said before. Now these bolts here, I would be very careful. If you're gonna buy a C3, make sure that these bolts are connected properly and they are not pushing out. Because if they're pushing out, then you have absolutely no suspension support at all. A lot of you guys were curious about leaks in the car, and the only leak I have right now is my power steering, even though I've replaced all the hoses, which are right there. It's just impossible to get it to stop leaking. But after I switched over to 10W30 oil, I've had 0 leaks anywhere, and my oil has actually stayed very clean. So I want to clarify that my power steering pump is what is leaking. I replaced the hoses because they were cracked a bit, and it definitely stopped leaks where those cracks were. But I totally need a new pump. My power steering still works pretty fine. And regarding the oil, for the past 3 years, I've had 5W30 oil, synthetic blend in the car, and then I would separately add zinc. And recently in January, I have a YouTube video on this. I put 10W30 oil in it. That actually stopped all oil leaks that I had. I typically had them around my valve gaskets and it would leak down. And I got a few oil spots, but that totally removed everything. And I'm definitely going to keep 10W30 now in the car. So I also got another comment about personal touches that I've done to the car. I have tuned it with a timing light. I bumped it up from 6 to 12 degrees. And that honestly added, in my opinion, a bit more power. It runs a lot better. It sounds better even. Another thing is when I pulled out the computer and cleaned it off because it was pretty rusted, which is another thing. If you have a computer sitting next to your battery, make sure that you clean it out because it can get rusted and then your car idles weird and it stalls everywhere and it's really annoying. But I had put new C5 computer parts into it. So I have to add something else. In the computer, it's pretty big. It's probably like, and it sits next to my battery. I have the battery in one of the compartments in the hatch, and then my computer sits directly behind it. There is a hole, like they put the hole there, and it has a plug, but the plug ended up falling out. My battery corroded, and that leaked into the computer. And so it had a bit of rust. I went in there with some sandpaper tweezers and I cleaned out all the connections. And then I went in and I took one of the chips out and I bought a C5 chip for it and I put that in. And it was supposed to add horsepower, torque, change how it shifts. And honestly, it did all of that. It's great. I totally recommend it. The chip was like $100. A lot better than replacing a bunch of parts in the car. So something I totally recommend. And I can add the chip that I bought into the YouTube description. And it changed a lot with the shifting, which I honestly love it. I will never remove it. And it said it added 30 horsepower and like 30 pounds of torque, which I don't know, it did feel faster, but I have not gotten it on like a dyno sheet, so can't really prove it, but yeah. Another thing with the interior is that I've actually rebuilt this part right here. I like when it clicks. The last one didn't do that. So I actually bought 2 and I put together the pieces and made a new one. And it works great. Another thing is with my radio, my radio does not work, but my cassette player does. So I have this Bluetooth cassette player. Not sponsored, but it works great. I love it because I love this old vintage radio. I will never change it. So another thing I get a lot of questions about is this a manual or an automatic? And it is obviously an automatic. Collector's editions did not have a manual option. But I have drive, which is 4th gear, 3rd and 2nd. I typically shift between 4th and 3rd. 4th on the highway. Even though my speedometer tops out at 85, the car itself tops out at like 125. Not fast, but when you're in it, it feels like you're dying, so. This is also really cool for the 80s. I do have powered windows, and I also have powered mirrors, which is really cool. I wonder if it'll move. No, it doesn't because the car is off. But it does work. I have not had any issues with it at all. It's been great, so yeah. So this is the dawn. I'll show you guys. So right here, it's on the left one. So you can move it like that, side by side, up and down. I have my hazards button over here. You push it in and then pull it out when you want it off. Blinkers, obviously. Oh, it's over here, I'm stupid. Left, right, whatever. Cruise control, I have off, on, resume. I don't know how this button works. And I don't really know what to do with it. I will figure out one day. If anyone knows, let me know. And then that's for brights, which are not on right now, so, whatever. I also got a comment where someone said that they wanted to see how my shoes smelled, and that was one of the really weird ones. I'm not gonna share that. even though you two would probably know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the car tour. I love this car as a daily. It takes a lot of time and effort and money, but you can buy a pretty decently running C3 for around 15 to 20K. And just a warning, it does take a lot of maintenance and a lot of money to keep it running and in good condition. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.
Content maker right there.